Alright, this is a lot of fun, man. I got a screwy story to tell you guys, and I'm probably going to get shit from it from my my haters, you know, the mouth breathers, the super truckers in the comments, but I'm going to tell you anyway. But first, I'm trying to figure out these are brand new tires, but first, I brought an empty trailer to the yard yesterday morning, and I just was going to get it washed out and take a 10-hour break. And they took my empty trailer to the shop, which was fine. That was yesterday morning. My empty trailer that I brought to the yard that got taken from me was clean and fuel. This trailer ain't got fuel and ain't clean. So someone made this my problem. It does have 4 brand new tires. Which doesn't matter because I'm going to do a drop and hook anyway. But I did probably the most screwy thing I think that I can remember doing to get this good load. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video here on that. Oh man, these reefer on these carrier, I don't know what's going on, man. You know, this is the worst year that I've had for reefer trailers maintaining temp. I don't know if it's just a bad string of luck or what, but it's basically the case that if I get, you know, a -10 load, then it's just, you know, pray for hope, because I swear it, and I know it's hot, and I know it's maybe not record hot, but above average hot, like pretty much everywhere. But these reefers, that -10 is just the lost cause with most of these reefer engines or units as of late, for me anyway. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. Anyway, welcome back. Eric Driveline here. I'm waiting to get unloaded. I had this load was a work-in at the 90. It had a time on it on the dispatch, but it also said work-in underneath it, and I was really concerned about that. So I got here really early this morning at 3:30, hoping that they would work me in at 3:30 because the time on there said 6:30. Well, that's because 6:30 is when they open. So I got turned away, came back, and there's no other trucks here at this cold storage. I'm the only truck, so I got to dock right away. And I'm just waiting on their day shift to get clocked in and get set up and all that, and then they'll be out here to cut the seal and get unloaded. So that's good. So like I said in that opening clip, I'm probably going to take some shit for, you know, I take shit from the super truckers and mouth breathers for everything. They love to take screenshots and post thumbnails and stuff on whatever social platform they're on, which is keep doing it. You know, the haters send traffic and subscribers, so keep doing it. I get paid by YouTube today, so hate all you want, hate some more. But anyway, for the non-haters and the non-super truckers, I would sincerely want to know your opinion on this load, sincerely, because I'm on the fence. And this is a wacky situation. So I was at the yard Friday in Springfield. Friday. I think it was Friday. And I went up and talked to my fleet manager, and it was apparent to me that freight was crap. We were going into the weekend. I didn't want to be stuck there. He told me about one load that I was just like, yeah, I'm not game for that. And then I talked to outbound, and it didn't sound promising or good at all. So I was basically going to be hoping that somebody brought some slops to drop off at the yard at some point that day, or Saturday, or maybe even Sunday, who knows. Boy, that sun is just coming at me hard, bro. So 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 I told my fleet manager, I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna bobtail to St. Louis. I'll bobtail to St. Louis. It's 200 miles. I know where to get a trailer. I'll go get that trailer. And he actually told me about the same place. I was going to go to Olney, but that was a little bit further to the yard in Olney. But he mentioned the same place that I probably would have gone to just outside St. Louis to get an empty trailer. And that way I could pull up load choice and get loaded out of there instead of just waiting around in Springfield. So I did that. Drove up to St. Louis. So that's 200 miles bobtail, unpaid. Okay, so let's rack it up. 200 miles. Then I get the empty trailer. I message dispatch, say, hey, I've got an empty trailer. Put my PTA to now. He did. So I pull up load choice, and there's 3 loads, one of which I was definitely not going to take because it was 300 miles and had like 6 days. It was ridiculous. Like, that was just never going to happen. Then there was one that was going to Lewiston, Maine, and it paid great, but it had 3 stops in PA, and they were all really close. 2 of them are receivers that I have had bad luck with, so it just looked like it was going to go sideways, so that was a no. The third one was this one that I'm dropping off, but it picked up in Green Forest just outside of Branson, southwest of Branson. Green Forest, Arkansas, which was about 260 miles back, the exact same direction that I had just driven 200 miles. Now, it was 550 miles roughly loaded, and it paid $2,000. So, hang on, we're going to get back to the math, okay? But first of all, my blood starts boiling a little bit when I think about how screwy a lot of this seems sometimes. Maybe there's stuff we don't know that's going on behind the scenes. I don't know. But how is it that there was a load paying damn near $4 a mile about 60 miles away from where I was sitting when I was at the yard? But that can't be mentioned to me or any other driver. That's not available. Someone make that make sense to me, because I was there and my fleet manager didn't know about this load either. So someone make that make sense to me, because if I had never left the yard and got dispatched on that load, which was 60 miles away down there in Branson, 60 or 70 miles, whatever it is, it would have paid almost $4 a mile, $2,000 with the deadhead, a little over 600 miles. But that wasn't an option when I was already at Springfield. But I drive all the way to St. Louis, bobtail, get an empty trailer, and now that I'm up at St. Louis, all of a sudden there's this $2,000 load sitting down there in Green Forest, Arkansas. So that's the one I took, which meant that I then had to pull an empty trailer all the way back down to Green Forest, Arkansas. So it ended up being about 1,000 miles for $2,000. And not only that, 200 miles of it was bobtail, and 250 or so pulling an empty trailer, so empty, and then the rest loaded for $2,000. Now, if you just think about that part of it, because right now I'd run a load 1,000 miles loaded for $2,000, depending on the pickup and drop location. So if you just think about that part, to me it seems like a pretty good deal. Bobtail 200 miles, empty 250, 260, loaded the rest of the way, 1,000 miles roughly, $2,000. It's a very profitable load, cheap to run, ends me up in a great location where I'm at right now. I'm literally 30 miles from 3 Tysons that I can think of, and not far from Tennessee at all. So I'm in a great reload area. So when you look at it just that way, it's fantastic. I mean, really, it's great. But I had to ask myself, would I have, if they said to me, and this is the difference in taking deadhead blind, which when I say blind, I mean they want you just to deadhead somewhere and there's no promise of any load, there's no pre-plan, there's no nothing, and deadhead with a load on you. Because that's the real difference here. Now, granted, I bobtailed 200 miles blind, but I bobtailed to an area that I know there's going to be a freight, and I know I'll be able to pick something as soon as I get the empty trailer. But I thought to myself, now, if they had said, we've got a 1,000-mile load for $2,000, but you have to drive all the way to St. Louis. You're at the terminal where there's empty trailers, but you have to drive all the way to St. Louis, pick up an empty trailer, and then bring it all the way back and go past the terminal to Green Forest, Arkansas, and then get that loaded trailer and take it. I don't know if I would have... I mean, I guess I would have. Because the math still... I would have been aggravated about it for sure. I would have been very aggravated because I would have been like, what? Why? Why go all the way to St. Louis to get an empty trailer? There's empty trailers right here. I'm at the terminal. Why would I go do that? I mean, the math checks. The reasoning doesn't check. So that's what this load is and what ended up happening. But I've not ever done something that screwy where I went 200 miles in one direction when I was at a place with empty trailers in a terminal, got an empty trailer, and then came backwards 250, 260 miles to pick up a load. Like, that to me just seems so whack. And I'm not blaming my fleet manager or anything because he didn't know that was going to happen. But I'm just like trying to figure out the reasoning for why that load wasn't made available for a driver or for me when I was at the terminal. Because it was available a few hours later when I got up to St. Louis. And that was late at night. That was at like midnight. So surely it had to be available a few hours earlier, I would think. But nobody wanted to tell anybody about it. And I could have just grabbed an empty trailer the next morning and gone down 60 miles and then had only done a little over 600 miles for $2,000. But anyway, I don't know, man. That was... When I got up there in St. Louis and accepted that load, I called my wife, because my wife, for those of you who don't know, my wife used to be a driver. She team drove the truck with me and was explaining this, and she's just like, WTF. She's like, what? So what's... Because she gets the dispatches too, because she has the Prime Fleet Owner app. So there's a Prime Driver app, and then there's a version of it if you log in as a fleet owner that just has, shows you all the trucks and the loads they're on and messages and stuff like that. But it doesn't have the full driver stuff. Anyway, so she sees the messages come in and she's like, wait, so you're going back to Green Forest, Arkansas, Didn't you just drive to St. Louis? Yep, I just drove to St. Louis, and yep, I'm driving right back to Springfield and to Branson. So, yeah, so that's how this campaign is kicking off. Man, I'm gonna have to start my AC here in a second. It is already hot, you guys. Dude, it is so hot and humid, man. I know there's some people that just like to shoot down anybody who says, look, it's extremely hot. There's always inevitably those comments. Oh, it's summer. You mean to tell me that it gets hot in the summer? Man, stop. Just stop. This summer is absolutely vicious. And I mean vicious. It is relentless. Last night at 10 o'clock I got up. I was over there on the border of Mississippi and Alabama. Got up last night at, I don't know, probably around 10 o'clock. Took a shower. My windshield was fogged with humidity for about 150 miles, and I was sweating all the way back to the truck from the shower. And I'm telling you, these reefers are really struggling with the humidity and the heat in ways that I haven't seen before. I mean, before you would have that problem a little bit, but I'm having it with like every trailer. Like, there's not, they'll pass the pre-trip, they won't have any kind of alarms or anything that would affect the temperature, but they cannot. If you get a -10 load, the chances are pretty high that you're running super fuel hog. I mean, you might have it set on -10 miscellaneous frozen, but it's basically super fuel hog. It's going to be in high gear nonstop the entire time. It used 3/4 of a tank of fuel in about 20 hours. Hell, I filled it up at midnight. It is currently 700. I filled it up at midnight, and it's already down to about 70%-ish, 73%. Because it's just running a high gear just to even try to maintain below zero. Much less minus. It's not gotten to -10 since I've had the load. So I don't know what's going on, but you know, it's always hot like this in summer. I get that summers are always hot, but I feel like this one has been particularly nasty, just relentlessly nasty. I'm ready for the fall. Oh, I was talking to drivers on driverdiscord.com last night. We were having a voice chat, and several drivers agreed with me. Give me anywhere from 50 to 65 degrees. I'm good to go, man. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. Let me know your thoughts on the load. Would you be happy with it? Would you have run it? How are you dealing with the trailers? Are you guys seeing some of the same things I'm seeing as far as reefers being able to maintain that below zero temp? Outside of that, you guys be safe, make good decisions, always drive, thrive. I'll talk to y'all soon.